Jamahal Hill was seen yawning after the fight. Looks like he's implying that the fight was boring. I'm just curious if you can respond to that.
Yeah, maybe he just woke up from UFC 300.
Alright, so Alex Pereira has done it again. This guy has been the most interesting fighter in the UFC for a while now, and he continues to deliver after scoring his 4th round TKO against Khalil Rountree at UFC 307. And not only did Alex break the UFC record of winning 3 title defenses in the shortest time frame of just 175 days, he had to overcome adversity after getting dropped in the 2nd round in order to do so. But even though his UFC career has been impressive as hell to most fans and fighters alike, Jamahal Hill insists on living in a world of delusion, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Because first, I just want to give this fight the props that it deserves, seeing as both Alex and Khalil really saved this entire event. Seriously, out of the other 4 fights featured on the UFC 307 pay-per-view, 3 of them were pretty boring in Harrison vs. Vieira, Bautista vs. Aldo, and Pena vs. Pennington. Then we have Delidze vs. Holland, which wasn't a bad fight, but Holland got injured and the fight was called off in between the 1st and 2nd rounds, so that was really disappointing. And yeah, if it weren't for Pereira and Rountree going to war with each other, UFC 307 would have been a disaster, and fans would probably be calling it the worst pay-per-view of 2024. With that being said, even though Khalil's stock for sure goes way up even in spite of the loss, I can't help but feel for the guy because he fought so well early on in the fight. He looked really fast, and honestly, I probably scored the first 2 rounds for him, and much like a lot of you guys, my jaw dropped on the floor when he knocked down Alex in the 2nd round. But according to Alex himself, it was his strategy to get Khalil to overcommit to strikes early so that he would gas himself out in the later rounds, and lo and behold, that's exactly how the fight went. Pereira started to take over the fight towards the end of the 3rd, and personally, I had it 2-1 in favor of Khalil going into the 4th. And oh my god, Pereira's 4th round live execution where he beat Khalil within an inch of his life is one of the most memorable UFC rounds I've seen in a while. The counters and the combos out of Pereira were so clean, and to Khalil's credit, he refused to go down only up until his body completely shut down on him. And despite the fact that I did predict Alex to walk away with the win heading into the fight, I really did not expect for Khalil to look as good as he did. I did not expect this fight to be as dramatic as it was, and personally, I think that this is one of, if not the best UFC fights of 2024. But it seems like Alex is still not without his critics, because during the crowd reaction immediately following the win, none other than Jamahal Hill can be seen theatrically faking a yawn, obviously trying to indicate that he was either unimpressed by Alex's performance or by the fight in general. And it's like, bruh, do I even need to explain why this is such a lame response out of Hill? The guy got handily KO'd by Alex not even 6 months ago, and he hasn't even had a fight since, whereas Alex has finished 2 more opponents since they met. Obviously, Jamahal had his period of time where he was making salty videos and excuses where he tried to delegitimize Alex's win over him at UFC 300. And although I was hoping he got over being so resentful about losing to Pereira fair and square, he's clearly still bitter over the loss. Look, I understand that these guys are competing against one another, so it's hard for some fighters to give credit where it's due, especially when it comes to a guy that they lost to, but I think out of all the reactions Jamahal could have given, this is probably the worst. Okay, I don't know if it's the worst, but it still definitely gives off the impression that he's still deeply salty about getting laid out by Pereira. Like, I'm not expecting Jamahal to give a standing ovation while blowing him kisses or anything, but fake yawning the guy that finished you in 3 minutes and took your belt is just a delusional response. And I guess doing the fake yawn would make a little bit more sense if Alex was able to finish Khalil quicker than he finished Jamahal, but Khalil put up such a better fight than Jamahal did, so I feel like this only makes Hill look worse in comparison. Like, what is Jamahal even yawning about? He got finished by Pereira faster than anyone else at light heavyweight. I'm not sure if he has any place to be diminishing Alex's win, seeing as he's literally the only guy at 205 that Pereira has finished in the 1st round. I don't know, man. At this point, I feel like even Alex's most bitter of rivals have to give him some props at the very least. Like, it took the guy 2 years and 5 days to win 2 UFC belts. He's the only person to ever hold a UFC middleweight and light heavyweight title, and by defeating Khalil, he broke Ronda Rousey's record of defending a title 3 times in the shortest amount of time. Like, this guy is literally speedrunning greatness, and although I'm skeptical on if he can carve out a UFC legacy that exceeds Jon Jones or GSP, he's doing a damn good job at working his way into the conversation. Not to mention, there's a reasonable enough argument to say that Pereira might be one of the greatest combat combat sports athletes of all time, given his record-breaking Glory Kickboxing accolades on top of his record-breaking UFC accolades. And if he can win his next title defense against Magomed Ankalaev, who I have always felt like is his biggest challenge at 205, then I really think that we can see Alex move up to heavyweight and be the first fighter to try and become a triple champion. And do I think that Alex has what it takes to beat Tom Aspinall at heavyweight? Honestly, probably not, but damn it, I'd like to see him be given a shot just to see if I'm right or wrong. And yeah, that is the video for today. Again, I really want to give Khalil Rountree all the credit in the world for making last night's main event as interesting as it was, because if it weren't for his performance as well as his toughness, then UFC 307 would have been a massive dud. And when it comes to Pereira, I think it's hard to deny that he's one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC right now, and during this period of time where there's so many wrestling-based champions who grind out decision wins, Alex is knocking out people in spectacular fashion in all of his title fights. And even in the case of Jamahal Hill, I actually do like the fact that he's making a potential rematch with Pereira more compelling, even though his fake yawns make him seem saltier than the Pacific Ocean. Anyways, definitely let me know what you think about the UFC 307 main event. Do you think that Alex has cemented himself as the greatest light heavyweight in the world, or do you think he needs to defeat Magomed Ankalaev first in order to earn that distinction? Also, what do you make of Jamahal Hill's reaction to the result of last night's main event? Do you think that it's just healthy showmanship out of Jamal, or was this another moment of him letting his bitterness be put on display? As always, if you liked the video, then like the video, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.